Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is okay. In today's episode, I want to talk about something very personal and very close to my academic journey. I want to talk about one of my favorite painters, Pieter Bruegel the Elder, and one of his most famous and fascinating paintings, Landscape with the Fall of Icarus. This topic is actually connected to my master's thesis, where I studied the relationship between poetry and painting, especially expressism, the way literature responds to visual art. And Bruegel's works were central to that research. Before talking about the painting itself, I want to share a little about Bruegel's life. Pieter Bruegel the Elder was a 16th century Flemish painter, often associated with the Northern Renaissance. He is famous for his incredibly detailed scenes of everyday life, landscapes, and human activity. Unlike many Renaissance painters, like artists, who focused on heroic figures or religious grandeur, Bruegel was deeply interested in ordinary people, their work, their routines, and the rhythms of life. And this perspective is actually what makes his art so powerful and so modern. I also had chance to connect with Bruegel's world in a very personal way. When I was an Erasmus student at Dortmund Technical University, I traveled to Antwerp, where Bruegel spent an important part of his life. Visiting the city where an artist lived always changes the way you think about their work, right? You began to imagine the landscape they saw, the streets they walked through, the cultural environment that shaped their imagination. But one of the most unforgettable experiences for me was visiting the Kunsthistorisches Museum in Vienna. There was a special exhibition dedicated to Bruegel, celebrating the anniversary of his birth. I traveled there from Dortmund, and it was truly an incredible experience. What made it even more meaningful was that I was able to see up close the paintings that I had analyzed in my thesis. Looking at them in books or on screen is one thing, but standing in front of them, seeing the details, the colors, the texture of painting is completely different. It was a moment where academic research became something very alive and very emotional. And actually, I try to do this whenever I work on a topic. I try to connect directly with the subject of my research. For example, during my doctoral research, I went to New York University as a visiting scholar, and my research focused on children's literature, particularly the picture books of Jacqueline Woodson. And during that time, I even had the chance to meet Jacqueline Woodson and examine her picture books more closely. For me, being able to reach the people I study, to see their work in person, or to visit places connected to their lives is incredibly motivating. It makes research feel real and meaningful. Now let's come back to today's painting, Landscape with the Fall of Icarus. The painting is based on the ancient Greek myth of Icarus. According to the myth, the Icarus and his father Daedalus escaped from imprisonment using wings made of feathers and wax. But Icarus flies too close to the sun, the wax melts, and he falls into the sea. It's a dramatic story about ambition, hubris, and the limits of human power. If you look at the painting carefully, you will notice something surprising. Icarus is almost invisible. But what makes Bruegel's painting so interesting is, I think, this one. The main focus of the painting is not the tragedy itself. Instead, we see a peaceful landscape. A farmer is plowing his field, a shepherd is watching the sky, and a fisherman is standing by the water. Daily life continues. And only if you look very closely, you notice Icarus' legs disappearing into the sea. The artistic choice completely transforms the myth. Instead of dramatizing the fall, Bruegel suggests something deeper. The world continues, even in the presence of tragedy. Human ambition may be dramatic, but everyday life goes on. This interpretation inspired many writers as well. For example, poets like Odin later reflected the same idea, the quiet indifference of the world to the individual suffering. So Bruegel's painting becomes not only a visual story, but also a philosophical reflection on human existence. And it is one of the reasons why this painting has always fascinated me. It reminds us that art often speaks in subtle ways. Sometimes the most important element in a painting is not what is emphasized, but what is almost hidden. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!